What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the Friday edition of the Stochastic NHL Strategy Show. I'm your host, Josh Harris. We had a 10-game slate last night, 5 games tonight. McDavid did the thing, finally. You really needed them because I was telling you before the show, I had Tampa 1 with Columbus 1, 6 goals in my lineup. I think only 1 assist, though. Which was the problem. And I didn't full cash. I don't know if anyone had it, but I think it would have been like Edmonton power play with Boston 1 would have been the nuts. But yeah, we're back at it here tonight. I saw some people in our Discord talking about bankroll management, and not that I really want to spend a super long time on that and around Christmas, because you probably should have a plan before the season. You know, some people are saying you need to use X amount of payroll or bankroll, this X. I would argue that contest selection is just as important. Consistency in those contests, just as important. I play the same GPPs every single night, because if you start mixing and matching, that's where things go wrong. But everyone has their own risk tolerance. If you have a good plan, stick to it. Just because X is doing 80% of his bankroll and Y is doing 2%, you're fine at 10%. But, really just find some good contests, stick to it. But we have a 5-gamer here tonight. No teams on a back-to-back, so we have a fresh 10 teams here tonight. Joining me to break it down, Slim Cliffy. What's going on?
Yeah, not a whole lot. Very interesting slate last night. Now, I was telling you before the show, I spent for the early games, I watched the Rangers and Sens, and hate to do it, but you got to hand it to the Rangers. They actually looked pretty good last night. Gavrikov looked great. They're generating pretty well against what is normally a stingy Senators team. So they did look good, but yeah, McDavid or Draisaitl. Nugent Hopkins had a 3-point bonus. They completely broke the slate. Matt Savoie, 2 goals, with one of them being a shorty. So if you had Edmonton 2 plus McDavid or something, you just annihilated. So yeah, Oilers can do that. Maybe this is a start of something new for them, an upward trend. Perhaps because obviously they haven't been anywhere near their best through the first couple months of the season. But, their last 5 games, they scored 6 against Florida, 3 against Dallas, 4 against Seattle the first time, then 9 against Seattle again. Maybe the offense is finally starting to come to life. But yesterday was yesterday. Today is today. We do have 5 games on the board. Lots of very interesting teams. One way or another, for a 5-game slate, these are all games that I would have no problem watching for one reason or another. Even something like Utah and Vancouver. Utah is kind of fighting for their playoff lives right now. Vancouver, if not always good, certainly can be fun to watch, which is, a welcome change. So I really do kind of like this little 5-gamer we have. I was looking at ownership before we came on the air. There's a couple pretty chalky spots for cheap lines, but there's nothing overwhelming here tonight. 5% top 2 stack and 18% ownership. There's nothing like that. So it seems kind of wide open, and I always like those slates.
Yeah. Just one more point on Edmonton. I would have been a little more tilted last night if Edmonton was low owned, but they were really high owned for some, obvious reason, but was not expecting that at all. But yeah. Did you see that interview with Quinn Hughes? That dude looks checked out. He was like, yeah, I'm not a hero. I'm just a hockey player, and I'll just keep trying my best. That dude wants to be with his brothers in New Jersey. Watch out for glasses at the dinner table. But we should get into this slate. Started off with a pretty good matchup. Vegas Golden Knights with a 3.1 total heading into New Jersey. Really good barbecue place next to the arena there. The Devils have a 2.9 total. Devils mixing up their lines here a little bit. They're going Timo Meier, Nico Hischier, Stefan Nason, Palat, Mercer, Bratt. Artseni Grietzuk down on the third line with Cody Glass and Connor Brown. Vegas still running their shenanigans of Eichel, Barbashev, Bowman, Hurtledorf, Assad, Stone, Marner, Howden. I shouldn't say shenanigans. They're running teams over. It's just annoying for DFS. With Stefan Nason on the top line, he's min price. That brings that top line down to $17K. I wish he was on the top power play unit because he actually is a good net front power play guy, and he's min price. This isn't a great matchup by any stretch of the imagination, though. Vegas doesn't take a ton of penalties. You know, whether they go out against Jack Eichel, whether they go out against Howden, whether they go out against Hurdle, there really isn't a line that's like, oh, crap, they're bad defensively. We could take advantage of this. Like, Vegas is steady across the lineup. Carter Hart's the question mark because even when he was in the NHL a few years ago, it wasn't like he was an elite goalie. I'm sure he's better than the guys that they had, but he's still like he had one game in the NHL in the past few years. That would give me a little bit of like, oh, maybe, you know, Meyer, Hischer, Nason at 17K is not as bad as Meyer, Hischer, Bratt at 20,900. You know what I mean? I'd be more likely to play them at 17K. Like Nason there won't kill you because he's min price. You just need an assist, a couple blocks, which he's definitely capable of. It's more of an MME play for me, though. I don't really want to stack against Vegas, especially when you have, you know, just listen to these home totals. Like the Devils have a 2.9, but Winnipeg 3.4, Dallas 3.9, Vancouver 3.1. The Ducks have a 3. There's 4 road teams with 3 totals. You know what I mean? So they have the second lowest total on the board here. If you want to go to that second line of Mercer, Bratt, Palat, at that point, I'm just going to go to the top line because I think the Eichel line with Bowman there is probably your best bet to do something against them because that Hurdle, Dorofeyev line, very good defensively. Howden, Stone, Marner has been very good defensively. The Eichel line is a little bit worse than league average, right around league average, and that's where you can beat them. So it would be NJ1 for me, but that's MME only. My interest is more on the Vegas side because the Devils have struggled defensively. Their goaltenders, at least Markstrom, hasn't been great. It's a pretty good power play spot. It's just like, do you really want to power play stack Vegas here when you have Dallas in an elite power play spot, Winnipeg in an elite power play spot, the Ducks are in a good power play spot. On the flip side, Washington's in a good power play spot. Utah's in a good power play spot. You know what I mean? So, like, almost everybody's in a good power play spot tonight. So, like, stacking across 3 lines to get a power play stack in is not something I want to do in single entry. In MME, obviously, if you're doing 150, that's something you can do. I think I would go to either Hurdle, Dorfe of Sod or Stone, Marner, Howden. If I go to Stone, Marner, Howden, I'm fine with leaving off Howden, putting in Eichel. Hurdle, Dorfe of Sod, if you want to leave off Sod and add in a Stone or Marner, that's fine. Like, I have a problem stacking Vegas without Eichel. And you can stack that top line, but they're going to see a bunch of Nico Hischier. And while they haven't been great defensively, once you get him off the ice, it becomes way worse for the Devils. So that's why I'm going to the depth. But I'd find a way to get Eichel in. So I prefer Vegas 2 and 3 here. I'd find a way to add in Eichel. I don't know if I full power play stack because everyone's in a great power play spot here tonight, essentially. So I probably stick to 5-on-5 lines, and I'm fine with either of the Howden or Hurdle lines.
Yeah, I'll start on the New Jersey side. Like, it's nice that Nason is on the top line to give us a little bit of a salary discount. The problem is if you look in that at like that mid-ish price range, there are 10 lines between 15K and 18.5. They aren't my top 3. I don't think, you have to necessarily run out to play them. Like, I was looking at Hischier and Timo so far this season. in the minutes without Jesper Bratt, 2.7 expected goals per 60. That's across 195 minutes at 5-on-5. Like it's above average, but it's not good or great by any stretch of the imagination. Vegas doesn't take very many penalties. That's the other problem here is, Vegas 2.6 times shorthanded per game over the last 5 weeks, 2.7 on the season, 7th lowest rate of power play goals against per game. They've only given up more than one power play goal once this season, and over half their games, 14 out of 26, have seen them not allow a power play goal at all. So it's not really a great power play spot for New Jersey. There are a bunch of lines in that price range I would rather play. Like you said, if Nason was on the top power play and they were fully correlated, then I might be able to go along with it. But how confident are we that Nason's going to last the game there? Like if they're down 2-0 early in the second period or something like that, does Bratt just get moved back up and then all of a sudden that top line is going to play 21 or 22 minutes? I think that's kind of the problem here. So I'm out of New Jersey 1. I'm out on New Jersey 2. I was looking at Bratt over the last 2 years when he doesn't have one of the big three on his line, none of Hughes, Hischier, or Meyer. 49 shot attempts for, 64 against per 60 at 5-on-5. It's just he's a good facilitator, but he needs someone to facilitate too. And I don't think that's Andre Palat or Dawson Mercer. I guess kind of by definition, I would go down to New Jersey 3. I'm interested to see how Gritsuk and Cody Glass kind of work out over the long term. Because, Gritsuk did start, before injury issues and everything cropped up. Gritsuk did start the year kind of in the bottom 6. He has played with Glass a fair bit this season, 85 minutes together at 5-on-5, 74 shot attempts, 2.7 expected goals per 60. That's pretty good generation. Now, it's a bad matchup, but Gritsuk is 3,200. Glass is 2,500. If you're playing Winnipeg power play or Dallas power play or something like that, I think a Glass Gritsuk 2-man is something you can go to. That's really my only interest on the New Jersey side. On the Vegas side, if I'm just looking at the 5-on-5 lines, the one that brings me the most interest is Marner, Stone, and Houghton. 14,600, 2.7 top 2 stack, 1.9% ownership. Marner and Stone have been pretty good in a small sample together. 74 shot attempts, 2.9 expected goals per 60. Obviously, you get Stone and Marner on the top power play. Stone's up to 10 games played. It's 29 shots. That's one thing with Stone about his DFS profile is that he typically isn't a big volume shooter. If he can be let alone 3 shots per game, 2.5 shots per game regularly, that is a difference maker. I would be tempted to take out Houghton and put in Eichel, but I don't think you have to. And the reason is New Jersey, as much as Vegas doesn't take penalties, New Jersey doesn't take penalties either. Over the last 5 weeks, New Jersey is tied for the 3rd fewest times shorthanded per game. On the season, they have the 6th lowest times shorthanded per game. Or 6th lowest power play goals against per game, rather. My mistake. It's not a great power play spot for Vegas, but obviously the Vegas power play has been very good when they have their 5 forwards. The New Jersey penalty kill is interesting because I was looking at their last 5 weeks, basically since the end of October, rather. Basically bottom 10 for most metrics except for save percentage. And, we always say you can't rely on goaltending to be great all the time. Now, goaltending has been great on the penalty kill. It's not necessarily going to last. In fact, I really don't think it will. Stone and Marner both under 6K. Yes, Eichel's expensive. That line's 20,400. But if you want to pay up for that, I think that's fine. Jack Eichel, his last 16 games, he only has 3 goals, but he's averaging almost 4 shots per game. It's at 3.8. So I'm perfectly fine with doing an Eichel, Stone, Marner 3-man. If you want to just go to a Stone, Marner, Houghton 3-man and, don't worry so much about power play correlation, I think you can do that. But I'm kind of with you. I'd be kind of tempted to take out Houghton, put in Eichel. you want to just straight up add Eichel to that 3-man, I think that's fine because Howden is so cheap as it is. If you can donk a goal, that'd be great. So for me, it's Vegas 2. Again, you want to take out Howden and put in Eichel. I think that's fine. So Vegas 2, New Jersey 3 for me out of this game.
Yeah. I just it's so funny because we always talk about, big boys are on this slate, McDavid, McKinnon, yada, yada. We never mentioned Jack Eichel. The dude just fucking rakes all season.
True. I mean, he has been I want to say a little bit of a cold streak. What is it? 3 points in his last 5 games, but I think he has 20 shots in those 5 games. Yes. It's coming.
Buffalo Sabres with a 3.1 total heading into Winnipeg. The Jets have a 3.4 total. Winnipeg going Connor, Scheifele, Velarde, Perfidi, Taze, Nemestikov, Niederreiter, Lowry, Iafallo. Buffalo going Thompson, Norris, Benson, Zucker, McLeod, Quinn, and then Tuck, Doan, Osterland. My brain just melted there for a second. Now with New Jersey lines, the only line above 20K here tonight is Winnipeg 1. This is a pretty interesting matchup because I know Buffalo got absolutely caved the other night by the Flyers, but they are more healthy than they were earlier in the season. And I don't really think that Winnipeg is a great 5-on-5 team. That Taze line has been pretty good. The Jets top line obviously has been scoring, but their creation and possession stuff isn't great. I don't Buffalo isn't the best defensively. I really only worry about the penalty kill. But that's kind of important here, right? Because the Winnipeg top line are their power play merchants anyway. So while I'm not 100% sure I want to spend up over 20K in this slate, obviously you can get expensive Dallas power play in there. You can do expensive stuff with Vegas if you wanted to. But from a straight just stacking per 3-man stack, I don't know if it's going to be Winnipeg. It is a pretty good power play matchup, though. They do have a 3.4 total. They have positive leverage. They have a 25.6% top 2, 13.8% projected ownership. I think that is the line. It's obviously the line I would prefer to play. I will say, if you are doing something really expensive with Vegas or Dallas or whomever, I'm not super thrilled about them, but Taze, Nemestikov, Perfidi in 100 minutes, 3 expected goals, 4 per 60. They're creating a bunch. The middle of the Buffalo lineup, not exactly world beaters defensively. You probably could do worse than a Taze, Perfidi 2-man here tonight. I'm not advocating to play them in single entry, but if you are looking to get a little bit different in some really expensive stack, I don't mind them. Alex Iafallo one off because he's on the top power play still is fine. On the Buffalo side, they left a sour taste in my mouth the other night. That game just kind of snowballed for them. They looked good early and then just they lost control of the game and just never got it back. I don't have an issue going back to Buffalo 1 here. Thompson, Norris, Benson. It's not the worst 5-on-5 matchup. It's not the best power play matchup, but you do get Norris and Thompson on the top power play unit. Thompson and Benson generally have good numbers together. Norris is good on the power play. I'm fine going back to them. They're 1% projected. I feel like they're going to be low. Even if they're higher than that, they're still going to be low owned because of what happened the other night. I don't have a problem going back to them. The other 2 lines are interesting just because of their price and how good they've been at 5-on-5. The McLeod line, 3.9 expected goals for per 60 in almost 80 minutes. The Dome line, 4.2 expected goals. It's a smaller sample, but Doan and Tuck together have a pretty large sample of being very good together. So I almost prefer the Buffalo second and third lines as fillers on this slate. Now the McLeod line's coming in almost double digits, which – listen, I on short slates, a line at 10,900. If it's worth playing, you're going to have negative leverage. You just have to deal with it. They're not going to be positively leveraged. I'm fine with it just because you get Zucker on the top power play unit. They've looked very good together, and they're 10,900. You can play them with anybody and feel decently confident about it. If you want to go to Austin, Doan, Tuck, I think that's perfectly fine. I think going back to Buffalo 1 here makes some sense, though, just because they're so low owned, and it's not as bad of a matchup as it looks like.
Yeah. Obviously Winnipeg still has no Connor Hellebuck. The drop from Hellebuck to Eric Comrie, it's about a half goal per game. It's not quite, at the level of like Lindgren, Thompson that we talk about sometimes, or Vasilevsky to Johansson. We saw that last night. But it is a fairly sizable drop off. And also what's kind of notable is if you look at their shorthanded numbers over the last 2 years, Connor Hellebuck, 874 save percentage while shorthanded. Eric Comrie, 811. Like, that's just flat out bad. And that's kind of important because the New Jersey Jets, the Winnipeg Jets on the season, 6th most times shorthanded per game. Now they've been getting more disciplined as the season's wearing on, but they're giving up a fair number of shot attempts. Like, I was looking at, their shot attempts against on the PK over the last 5 weeks. Like, they are about the middle of the league. So, like, this hasn't been a great penalty kill. Comrie hasn't been good on the penalty kill. Buffalo's power play, when they have Doan and Zucker healthy, 140 shot attempts, 12.4 expected goals, 11.4 actual goals per 60. They've been just as good as Winnipeg's. And the interesting thing about this particular slate is that Zach Benson and Josh Doan are basically the same price. I think there's $100 difference. So, if you wanted to stack Buffalo 1, take off Benson, put on Doan, it's an even $17K in what I think is a fine power play matchup. And, Winnipeg, even with Lowry back, has been using the top line as a shutdown matchup at times. With Dylan Sandberg back in the lineup, the top line's been better at 5-on-5 because they have another defense pair to play with. They've also been using the Adam Lowry line in shutdown roles as well. They're kind of splitting the duties. And that Adam Lowry line, 3.1 expected goals against, 57 shot attempts against per 60. Since Lowry came back, like, they haven't been that good defensively. I'm perfectly fine with doing like a Thompson, Norris, Doan 3-man. Take out Benson, put in Doan. If you want to take out Benson and put in Zucker, I think that's fine as well. Like, Jason Zucker's been fairly productive over his last recent stretch, last 8 games, 2 shots per game with 9 points. Obviously, he's been a focal point of the power play as well. I kind of do like Buffalo 1 here. The depth lines are coming in over-owned. That's kind of part of it as well. Like, Zucker, McLeod, Quinn, 3.2% top 2 stack, 9.5% ownership. Like, ownership at 3x the top 2 stack, that seems a little extreme for me. Even without Connor Hellebuck in net. So, Buffalo, that Tuck line is at 2.5. So just because you can get them at such low ownership, and I think it's a fine power play spot, and I think it's a fine 5-on-5 matchup. Like, if you can get Thompson, Norris, Doan sub 5% on a 5-game slate with no Connor Hellebuck, I think you have to at least consider that. So for me, it's Buffalo 1 at the very least. If you want to leave in Benson, fine. It's not like Benson's been bad, but since returning, he has 7 shots in 6 games. Like, he's a facilitator, not a scorer, and he's not getting power play time. So a guy that doesn't shoot, that isn't getting top power play time, like, that's a guy that I think you can take off and put in Doan or put in Zucker or something like that. So Thompson, Norris, X, whether it's Doan or Zucker, is my interest on the Buffalo side. On the Winnipeg side, like, I mean, it's Winnipeg 1, right? Like, since Sandberg came back, they're at 3 expected goals, 4 per 60. Kyle Connor's last 12 games, he's got 15 points, 3 shots per game. They're getting ice time still. I mean, even with Winnipeg getting healthy, Connor and Scheifele are fairly consistently around or above 20 minutes, with Velarde in the high teens. So they're getting plenty of ice time. The question is if you want to pay $20,300 for them. because the only other real comparable now that Stefan Nason is up on the top line for New Jersey is if you do that Vegas stack that we talked about in the last game, or you do some sort of Dallas power play stack, right? So it's a matter if you want to pay up that much. Like the Buffalo penalty kill, it's one of those things where the metrics aren't very good, but they've had a very good save percentage. UPL, I mean, say what we will about him, 900 save percentage, 2.5 goals against per game so far this season. Like those aren't terrible numbers. I'm fine with Winnipeg 1. Obviously, 25% top 2 stack, 14% ownership. They're not super expensive at 20,300. You can put in a secondary line with them, but they're not even the top 2 stack on the night. And so, like, I don't know. Like, I think they're playable, but for me, it feels like one of those nights where I'm gonna follow the flow chart and say this is a great matchup for the Jets and not play them. So that's kind of where I am. Like you said, if you want to drop down to the Taves line or something because you need some cheap guys to put in with Dallas or whatever, I think that's okay. But to me, if I'm playing Winnipeg and hoping for a DFS tournament winning score, I'm playing the top line. But my interest is really more on the Buffalo side, and specifically their top line.
Buffalo on the road, that's a no for me, dog. I think that's why they're going to be low owned, just because like stuff like that, like, you know, and you might end up being right, but like you could be wrong and they'll be low owned because of it. San Jose Sharks with a 2.5 total heading into Dallas. The Stars have a 3.9. I've also been following the World Cup draw while we've been on the air. Canada has a pretty good draw so far. I don't know if you've been following it. They have Switzerland, who's 17 in the world, and Qatar, who's number 51 in the world with one more to go. That's not too bad.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good. Dallas going Robertson, Hintz, Ben, Rantanen, Johnston, Steele. San Jose going Celebrini, Smith, Toffoli, Eklund, Wenberg, Gaudette. So we found the number 1 top 2 stack on the board. It is Robertson, Hintz, Ben, Jason Robertson. You know, I remember 2 seasons ago, there was an argument in our Discord about Robertson being better than McDavid. Like, we can pump the brakes on that. But, like, he has had a great season so far. Last season, he was hurt in preseason, had that ankle issue. I don't think he was fully healthy at all. You can see what he could do fully healthy. He's obviously not better than McDavid, but he is a superstar in this league. I don't know if I want to just straight up stack Dallas 1 because 28% top 2 stack, 31.2% projected ownership. That's just a hefty boatload of ownership. Now, I know they will get like middle 6 matchups of the Sharks, and it's advantageous, but like that's a lot of ownership. And this is an excellent power play matchup. Jamie Benn, only 3,300. That's kind of the issue, right? You take off Ben, you put on Wyatt Johnston, you're looking at 23K. You put on Mikko Rantanen, you're looking at 24K. It's expensive. But that's the way I'd go about it because this is an unbelievable power play spot, but I would absolutely prioritize Jason Robertson here. I guess you could go Johnston, Rantanen, Robertson, and that would be also 24K. But I don't really like spending that expensive on bigger slates, but on 5-game slates, Dallas legit might have the best power play in the league. So I do like some sort of power play stack. I don't even think you can full power play stack them, even with Heiskanen at 6K. But the 2 guys I would absolutely prioritize are Robertson, Rantanen, and Wyatt Johnston, and Rupe Hintz, and I want all of them. But like Johnson was the first player in the league to get to 10 power play goals, but I still think Robertson and Rantanen would be the 2 I want to focus on. And then you could just pick a center. There are a fair bit of really super cheap lines that you can fit with them. It's just a matter if you can get comfortable, right? Because, you know, last night it wasn't overly hard to get in Colorado at 23 and change. Any Dallas power play stack would be around that price or more expensive. I think you can do it. It's a great power play spot. So Dallas power play stack. On the flip side, I don't mind San Jose 1. The problem that I'm running into is their price, $18K. Because one, they're going to run into Haskin and Lindell a bunch, and that's a problem. But, like, if they get shifts away from them, it's not bad. But it's like $18K, 2.5 road total. It's kind of not great because you could just stack the Johnston line for $18K. The Robertson line's only $18.3, although I just wouldn't put in a Dallas line and go about my day. Like I just mentioned, it's just a price thing, right? Because there are other road lines in better spots for cheaper, like Utah, Washington. So, like, I don't hate San Jose 1. I just don't think I'm getting there because of the price. It's easily a Dallas power play game for me.
Yeah. You mentioned how good of a power play spot it is for Dallas. I mean, I think you can say they've been the best power play team in the league. They're at 1.04 power play goals per game. It's about 0.2 goals higher than the next closest team. There's basically as big as a gap between them and the second place team in power play goals per game as there is between second and 14th. Like, it's absolutely preposterous what they've done. And San Jose does take, their fair share of penalties on the season, fifth most times shorthanded per game in the league over the last 5 weeks, third most times shorthanded per game in the league. Now, I noticed that San Jose, despite taking a lot of penalties, hadn't been giving up a lot of goals. And I looked into why, and it's a 942 save percentage on the penalty kill over the last 5 weeks. Now, do I think San Jose's goaltending can be good? Yes. Can they stay anywhere close to 942 save percentage? Absolutely not. They would be lucky to stay around 900. That would be a great number. So obviously the good penalty killing numbers are basically a result of a good stretch of goaltending and nothing more. The question is, who do you play? This is the way that I look at it. I think Robertson, Hintz, and Ben is their best 5-on-5 line. And Jason Robertson has just been a supernova this year. It's funny to keep seeing like, should Jason Robertson make Team USA? And it's like, should he be on the top line is the question that you should be asking. Anyways, they've been the best 5-on-5 line. I was looking at Ben and Hintz's numbers over the last couple of years when they skate together. They're not great, but Robertson and Hintz have been tremendous together this season. The question is, do you leave Ben or do you add someone in and make it a really expensive stack? The guy I would honestly consider adding in is Wyatt Johnston. And the reason I say that is, well, there are a couple reasons. One, he has the highest power play shot rate of anybody on the team. He shoots like 20% more often than the next closest Dallas forward. It's fairly sizable. The other, and this isn't a big sample, so I think it's 5 games, so take it with a grain of salt. But I was looking at some of the tracking data from all 3 zones. So far this season, Wyatt Johnston, of all Dallas players tracked in those 5 games, was responsible for 1/3 of their zone entries and 40% of the carried zone entries on the power play. So it's not 1/3 of the top power play unit. It's 1/3 of anybody that's skated on the power play in those games. He's heavily involved in entries, and he's the biggest volume shooter. So Wyatt Johnston would be the guy I would add in. I would probably leave out Rantanen. If you want to do like a Robertson, Rantanen, Johnston 3-man, I think that's okay, because obviously Rantanen is the ultimate power play empty net merchant.
Yeah.
Actually, I think Rantanen only has like 1 or 2 empty net points on the season. I shouldn't rag on him. Too bad for that. But I think he has like 16 power play points already. He's on pace for like 50 this year. So if you want to do like a Robertson, Rantanen, and Johnston 3-man, I think that's fine. It's another reason why I kind of don't like Winnipeg here tonight, is because if you look at ownership, obviously Dallas is going to carry heavy ownership in this kind of matchup. But Mikko Rantanen, 12% projected ownership on this slate. Connor Scheifele and Velarde all between 12 and 15%. So if you do like a Robertson, Johnston, Rantanen 3-man, they're probably going to come in with about the same ownership as Winnipeg won. Now they're going to be more expensive, obviously, but this is arguably the best power play spot a team can possibly be in, just because of the disparity between how good Dallas's power play is and all the penalties that San Jose takes. So I'm with you. I really like a Dallas power play stack. I think the two guys you probably should have are Robertson and Johnston. Even though they're on separate lines, those are the two guys you should probably include. It's just a matter if you want to add Hintz or you want to add in Rantanen. I would probably include Rantanen, but I think you can go either way on that one. I will also just shout out quickly the Dallas third line. 52 shot attempts for, 40 against per 60, 3.3 expected goals for per 60 in their time together this season. Like, if you want to do like a straight up Dallas Josh stack, I think you can do that, honestly, and do like 3 forwards, add in Heiskanen, and then, add in like Maverick Bork and Justin Ritzkovian or something like that as 2 super cheap guys to bring down the average cost. Like, I think if you want to do a Dallas Josh stack in this matchup, it's perfectly fine. So Dallas power play, maybe even a Dallas Josh stack. Dallas 3, I think a 2-man from them is fine. On the San Jose side, I'm glad that they're, after breaking up the top line in the last game, I'm glad that they're going back to it. I think there should be something here with the Dallas top line at $18K and 12.6% top 2 stack, 5.4% ownership. The problem is like, this is a bad power play matchup for them. And listen, man, they're leaving John Klingberg on the top power play. With John Klingberg on the top power play over San Jose's last 10 games, they are even by goal differential. 4 goals for, 4 goals against. It is absolutely insane what's going on there. But besides that, it is a bad power play matchup. Dallas, they do take their fair share of penalties, but their penalty killing itself is extremely strong. Top 5 shot attempts against, top 10 expected goals against over the last 5 weeks. Their goals against is also in the top 10. Like, it's a pretty bad power play matchup for San Jose. If I was 20 maxing, maybe I'd have one of them. 150, certainly, maybe you have a handful. But in single entry at 18K, I think there are other spots I'd rather go to in that price range. Like, we just talked about Buffalo at 17K coming in at 1% ownership. So like, if you wanted a cheap road stack in the 17 to 18K range, I think I'd rather play Buffalo than San Jose here. So kind of just out on the Sharks. I don't really dislike playing San Jose if you're playing a bunch of lineups here tonight, but for me and my single entries, this is a Dallas game.
Yeah, I mean, San Jose just showcasing Klingberg for the Leafs, obviously, and then they can get to business after the Leafs, trade a first-round pick. Utah, do they even have one? Probably not. Utah, the Mammoth, 3.3 total. Heading into Vancouver, they curiously have a 3.1 total. Utah going Keller, Schmaltz, Peterka, Genther, Cooley, Boot. What did Nick Schmaltz, I think, was calling him Cheeks, which is an elite nickname. That's such a good nickname. We're going to call him Cheeks. Vancouver going Pettersson, DeBrusk, Linus Karlsson. Fully correlated Linus Karlsson, I should add. Kane didn't practice yesterday. Garland was in a non-contact jersey, so I would imagine if Kane plays, he's going to be on a line with Sasson and Besser. Just a guess. With Sherwood, with Kampf and O'Connor down on the third line. Interestingly enough, this top line for Utah, 16,600, 10.9% projected ownership with a 13% top 2 stack. Vancouver's bad. And this line is really good. So it's like, okay, if you're not slamming in Winnipeg or Dallas power play or Vegas power play or something like that, and you want because Peterka was on the power play, right? Or him and Schmaltz, one of the two.
Yeah, he was on the power play. It was Cooley, Genther, Keller, Peterka.
Yeah. So, like, at worst, you're going to get 2 of the 3 on the top power play. It's a good 5-on-5 matchup. They're only 16,600. That Pettersson line, they're like Pettersson's another one of those guys who kind of breaks expected goals metrics on both sides of the ice. But, they haven't been great defensively. Kevin Lankinen, he's been fine this season. But I do really like Utah 1. Now, obviously, I like Dallas and those guys more. But if you're not doing something super expensive, this road line for 16,600 is very intriguing to me. You want to go to that second line, Cooley, Genther, Cheeks, 14,600 coming in at 1%. I would imagine that comes up, considering you get Cooley and Genther on the power play against a Max Sasson centered top 6 line. You know what I mean? So honestly, I think you could just power play stack here as well. This is another one of those games where you could power play stack. And with Peterka on the power play, it's not overly expensive because Keller and Genther are only 65 and 6,300 together. Peterka's 4,200. Like, this is a spot where you can power play stack and still can roster real NHL players. So I don't mind a power play stack here. Also, shout out the third line, Carcone, McBain, Krause, going against the bottom 6 of the Vancouver lineup, which is just atrocious. They have been really good in 150 minutes together. So if you are power play stacking Winnipeg, Dallas, Jets, whatever, 2-man of McBain, Krause, McBain, Carcone, Krause, Carcone, perfectly acceptable here. They have been very, very good. There's nothing on the Vancouver side that worries me. So this is definitely a Utah game. I think there's 3 playable lines. I think you can power play stack. On the Vancouver side, I guess it would be the top line just because it's fully correlated at 13K. They are coming in with their ownership 2x their top 2 stack, 4.3%, top 2, 7.9% projected ownership. Listen, if this was like an 8-9 game slate, I wouldn't put much thought into it. But for reasons, they have a 3.1 total, and the Utah goaltending has been pretty sus, as the kids say, this season. So, like, if you're 20 maxing, I don't mind Vancouver 1. The total is bugging me, but you can do worse than a fully correlated line at 13K on a 5-game slate. That would be the line for me, but I love Utah here.
Yeah. One quick note on Utah. I was just looking at some of the expected goals numbers when I was going through the slate. They're 11th by expected goals against at all strengths on the season, 12th over the last 5 weeks with their goaltending. They're below average by goals against per minute. So, like, this, it's not a great matchup for Vancouver, but this isn't a brutal one for them either. And as you mentioned, that top line might look to be perfectly correlated. The Vancouver power play has been surprisingly fine this year. It's like, I that might sound like faint praise or something like that, but I was kind of expecting that power play to just fall apart this season. I mean, it wasn't that great last year. Top power play unit, 9.3 goals per 60. It's above average, because above average is like 8.8 or something like that. So, like, just to be above average for a top power play unit, considering all the injuries they've had this year, considering, guys leaving, et cetera, like, feels like that's not bad. Utah doesn't take a ton of penalties. That's the problem. 2.7 times shorthanded per game. Over the last 5 weeks, that's better than the league average. They're also better than the league average over the full season. But Vancouver is drawing power plays. Like, that is the difference. Vancouver, 5th most power plays per game on the season, 2nd most power plays per game over the last 5 weeks. So at 13K, for an above average power play unit that might get 3, 4, 5 cracks at it here tonight, if they get 1 power play goal, you're okay. And then if they can add one at even strength, empty net, anything like that, then you're kind of rolling. I don't hate the idea of playing Vancouver. Like, if you're playing Old New Jersey, or if you're playing Winnipeg or something like that, and you need a line in that 11, 12, 13K range, I think they're very playable. 7.9% ownership against 4.3 top 2 stack. When you're under 2x for your top 2 stack, it's kind of my rule of thumb. When you're under 2x ownership over top 2 stack, it's not something that really bothers me that much. So I honestly don't hate playing Vancouver 1 here at their price. If you want to dip down to Vancouver 2, I I mean, I guess it's fine. Like Besser and Connor Garland, I got to think can kind of play moderately well together. 11,600. I just for a should be a perfectly correlated Vancouver top line. Seeing as they're drawing so many power plays, that's kind of where my interest is. So I honestly don't mind Vancouver 1 year. In general, I prefer the Utah side. And a big reason is, I mean, one, Utah doesn't draw power plays. That's a problem. They're at 2.4 per game over the last 5 weeks. It's the second lowest rate in the league. On the season, they're in the bottom 10. It's not great, but Vancouver penalty kill, very bad. On the season, Vancouver giving up the most power play goals against per game at just under 1. Over the last 5 weeks, third most power play goals against per game. And honestly, if it wasn't for Seattle last night, Vancouver would be second. So like their penalty kill is quite bad. They don't take a ton of penalties, as I mentioned. Utah power play, we'll see if it's any good with Peterka, but the power play stack isn't expensive. If you straight up power play stack Utah, add in Vejmelka, you have 4,600 left per roster spot for the other 3 roster spots. Like, you don't need to punt. So, like, I kind of like the idea of a Utah power play stack, especially where they're not coming in with much ownership. You know, I mentioned all the guys in, the 20%, even 30% range. For Dallas, Utah, they have 2 players with projected double-digit ownership, nobody over 12%. So, like, this feels like a good low-owned spot against. Listen, I said Vancouver was fun to watch. I never said that they were a good team. You know what I mean? Like, on the season, Vancouver's giving up quite literally the most goals per minute in the league. Dead last in goals against per minute. Over the last 15 games, over 4 goals against per 60 minutes. Dead last. This is a great spot for Utah, and their ownership doesn't look to be too far out of place. So Utah 1, perfectly fine. I kind of like the idea of a Utah power play stack, given how bad Vancouver's penalty kill is, and I certainly don't mind playing Vancouver 1 at their cheap price with that correlation.
Is Lekaramaki on power play 1? I don't think so.
I think it's they practiced it yesterday or the day before, one or the other. I wouldn't be too married about anybody being on that top power play unit besides like Pettersson, DeBrusk, Besser, or something. Like they've been continually rotating guys, so that's just kind of the way that I look at it.
Yeah. Washington Capitals with a 3.5 total heading into Frostback territory. The Ducks have a 3 total. I believe Sordif is out. I think he's out for a little while.
Yeah.
So they're going to – I went and looked. They didn't skate yet, or they did or didn't do lines. But last game they went Ovechkin, Strome, Beauvillier, Wilson, Protas, McMichael, Leonard, Frank, Dowd.
Yeah, I don't – unless somebody's hurt, I don't think they're changing much after a 7-1 win.
Michael Granlund and Ryan Strome back in for the Duckies. But that's bottom 6 stuff. Their top 6 is Gauthier, McTavish, Seneca, Carlson, Terry, Kreider, Granlund with Vetrano, which will help Vetrano. He's had a terrible season, but, I'll start on the Washington side here. This is a really good matchup, both at 5-on-5 and on the power play. For Washington, still no Dostal. Ville Husso, I think, is the projected starter with his glorious.
Yeah, they confirmed it while we were on the air.
With his glorious .833 save percentage and a high danger save percentage of .647 on the season. It's a very small sample, but those are still really bad. I would be most likely, if I was using the top line, to leave off Beauvillier and add in Ryan Leonard. One, because I don't really want to play a 17% Anthony Beauvillier. I say that now and he'll bury me, but Ryan Leonard on the top power play for cheaper, for less owner, or he's not cheaper, sorry, he's $600 more, but he's coming in with a fifth of the ownership. So I would turn that into a power play stack there. if I was going to just play a 5-on-5 line, I think it would be McMichael, Protas, Wilson. But I would try to find a way to make it into a power play stack, leaving Beauvillier off, adding in either Wilson or Leonard. If you do want to go super cheap, if you're power play stacking, Dallas, etc., all those teams we mentioned, I don't mind a two-man of like Frank Leonard. Now, Ethan Frank probably not going to play a ton, but he has been, economical in his minutes when he's not on the fourth line. So I don't mind a two-man of Leonard Frank. Most likely I would go Ovechkin, Strome, Leonard, Ovechkin, Strome, Wilson, but don't mind that third line as a filler. On the Ducks side, like 17% on Seneca, McTavish, Gauthier. I'll just go to Carlson, Terry, Kreider for 3.9%. 16,900 fully correlated. It's not a great 5-on-5 matchup. It's a good power play matchup. Yes, it's probably going to be Logan Thompson, but yes, the Ducks power play is good. At 16,900, I still prefer Utah in that range, but this is a fully correlated line. Carlson and Terry are going to play 20 plus minutes. Kreider has been up around 18. I'm fine with Anaheim 1 here. You need a super cheap filler. Granlund, Vetrano, I guess, is fine. Like, Granlund has never met a puck he didn't want to shoot, so that's what you really want for a third line, so I don't mind them. But it would be Anaheim 1 in some sort of Washington power play stack.
Yeah, I'll start on the Anaheim side because, it's not a great 5-on-5 matchup, and obviously with Logan Thompson in that, it's the upgrade over Charlie Lindgren, though, Thompson's had his rough games. Lindgren has had his good one. We're just talking generally speaking. But the Washington penalty kill has been kind of a problem for them all year. They are 5th by power play goals against per game on the season, 4th by power play goals against per game over the last 5 weeks. It's not getting better. And you mentioned the Anaheim power play, a little bit better for a top power play unit, a little bit better than league average, like not great, but considering where the power play had been over the last couple of years, it's been a monumental upgrade. Carlson, Terry, Kreider, perfectly correlated at 16,900. I think they're playable here tonight. I'm not saying that I'm running out to play them, but it's also another reason why I'm not big on San Jose here. It's like San Jose going into Dallas I don't think is a better matchup than Anaheim at home to Washington, and Anaheim at 16,900. I just think makes a lot of sense to me. So I really don't mind Anaheim 1 here. Anaheim 2, like if you want to play them, go ahead. But an over-owned line against a good 5-on-5 team, you only get one guy on the top power play when it's a really good power play matchup. That's kind of my problem. Is like I want to get that power play correlation. So I would go to Anaheim 1, but I have a lot more interest in the Washington side here. Should also note, it hasn't been. I just saw. I think it was Derek Lee tweeting about it for the Ducks. It's not officially 100% that Michael Granlund's back. The Ducks may go 11-7 again. We'll see what happens. We obviously won't know until warm up, and it's the last game of the night to lock. So good luck with all that. On the Washington side, that Washington top line on the season, 3.6 expected goals. Ovechkin, obviously, he's been on a tear lately. I think it's like 15 points his last 10 games. I'll also say he's shot 32% over those last 10 games. Like half that would be well above his career average. And I know it's a higher shooting percent environment, but I think 32% is a little bit ridiculous. But obviously, they're still creating extremely well. They play with the empty net. You get 2 out of the 3 on the top power play unit. And the note here is that it is like a fairly solid power play matchup for Washington, right? It's not as if Anaheim is a great penalty killing team. Their metrics are basically the middle of the league. The save percentage has been poor, especially with Dostal out. I don't think Ville Husso is going to help. And if you look at Washington's top power play numbers with Ryan Leonard, 10 expected goals for 123 shot attempts per 60 minutes. Without Ryan Leonard, 7.5 expected goals, 91 shot attempts. He's been a difference maker since they've gone to 4 forwards, 1 defenseman, and he's been the 4th forward. So if you want to take out Beauvillier and put in Leonard, I don't feel like that's chasing points. I feel like that's just making a perfectly correlated top line in what is a pretty good power play matchup. And Leonard's only $600 more expensive than Beauvillier. So even if you put him on the top line, it's $16,600. I like Washington 1 here. If you want to dip down to Washington 2, no issue. Like, Connor McMichael's been on a nice little tear of late. 25 shots, 9 points in his last 10 games. He's been playing like 18 to 19 minutes a game, even without top power play time, down on, quote, the second line, although this is pretty much their top line. 15,100. I think they're very playable, but I want to get power play guys in my lineup because I think this is a great power play matchup. So I'd probably go like Ovechkin, Strome, Leonard. If you want to do just Ovechkin, Strome, Beauvillier, add in Leonard, I think that's fine. If you want to take out Beauvillier, put in Tom Wilson instead, I think that's fine. But for me, it's Washington 1 focusing on Ovechkin and Strome, and it's just a matter of whether you keep Beauvillier or you add in Wilson or Leonard or maybe even both of them if you want.
I think Team Canada's got a Tom Wilson problem. I think he should make the team, honestly.
Take Morgan Geekie.
Take off Konechny?
No, I don't want to get into it. I don't have any particular issue with taking Tom Wilson. My problem is this is double IHF rules. And if Tom Wilson hits somebody like he does in the NHL, he's getting kicked out of the tournament and Canada would get a 5-minute penalty kill. It is 95% guaranteed to happen because they don't put up with the same stuff that NHL refs do.
It is true, and it's smaller ice, so look out.
Great train time.
Let's talk about defensemen here. Most expensive on the board, Jacob Chychrun, 6,900. Then you have Quinn Hughes, Rasmus Dahlin, Josh Morrissey, Miro Heiskanen. Those are the guys 6K and up. I legitimately have no issue with Miro Heiskanen at that price. He shoots a ton. This is a good power play matchup. I think Quinn Hughes is fine here. He's been above 28 minutes, 6 of his last 7 games, above 30 in 3 of them. It's not the worst spot for him because like Vancouver has a high total, and if they beat that total, he's gonna be involved. So I really don't have an issue with any of the expensive guys here. Like my biggest issue is Josh Morrissey, and I like him as a player. He's just not shooting the puck this season. So I would probably go Quinn Hughes 1, Chychrun 2, Dahlin 3, Miro Heiskanen 4, Josh Morrissey 5. But I really don't have an issue with any of them. Obviously, Sergachev at 5,500 is in a good power play spot as well. So there is a lot to like in this top range.
Yeah, that's one thing that really stood out to me. I mean, there are a lot of good lines, a lot of good spots on the board here tonight, but there are very good expensive defensemen. Quinn Hughes has the highest projection on the night, just over 12 points for 6,700. But of the 5 defensemen 6K and above, it's Miro Heiskanen with the best point per dollar value, which I think makes a lot of sense when you consider Heiskanen, the ice time he's been playing with all their defensemen injured. Plus, it's a tremendous power play matchup for Dallas. So I think you can include Heiskanen. I'm not sure I would one-off him because like if the Dallas power play double dongs here tonight, it's like somebody on that top power play unit is going to have a big game, right? So Heiskanen, I think you just include with some power play stacks. I think you can play Quinn Hughes by himself. Like, I think Vancouver could very well see some spread out scoring. Again, he plays a ton of minutes. I go Hughes 1, Heiskanen 2, Chychrun 3, Dahlin 4. Now, the only reason I have Chychrun at 3 is just because it's such a good power play spot. If it was the worst power play spot, on the road at 6,900, I'd say it's a pass. But for me, it goes Hughes, Heiskanen, Chychrun. Mid-price range, like Sergachev, obviously in a very good power play spot in Vancouver. I think it's fine. Jackson Lacombe he's a little bit expensive for his price. But, if you're playing Anaheim, I think he's certainly perfectly fine to play. Between 4 and 5K, it's Nemec and Hanifin that stood out to me. Like, I know Shea Theodore is a better offensive defenseman, but Hanifin has a higher shot rate than Theodore this season, is playing similar minutes and has a similar block rate. So the peripherals slightly edge for Hanifin, and he's a fair bit cheaper. So I like him. Obviously, Nemec hopefully running the power play all game for New Jersey here tonight. I guess we'll find out in about 5 to 7 hours time. For cheaper defensemen, Dylan Sandberg projects well. Philip Hronik, obviously, for Vancouver. Matt Roy. I mean, I recommended Rasmus Sandin the other day, and then Matt Roy has a huge game. That's kind of the way it goes with the Washington defenseman. Matthias Samuelsson for Buffalo, certainly in play. I mean, I guess Owen Power down to 27. I think it's 2,700. It's like, oh my God, man. But at least he's shooting the puck a bit. Mario Ferraro certainly in play. And I'll mention Rasmus Sandin again, just because he's under 3K and does get involved offensively.
Yeah, I also mentioned Pavel Mintyukov, 2,600. He plays like 18-ish minutes, but he's had three block bonuses in his last 6 games. He's probably going to have to be pretty busy here tonight as well. Yep. So you could do worse than Pavel Mintyukov. Goalies. I hate goalies. I don't want to play goalies. This is arguably a worse goalie slate than yesterday. I don't mind Oettinger at 8,400. It's just a price issue. If he was like 8K flat, I'd be more interested. But, 8,400, that's a cash game. You need a shutout in GPPs. It's certainly possible, but, don't love it. Logan Thompson at 8K is interesting to me. Vejmelka as well. He did have a good game last time out against the Ducks. Maybe that's the start of something for him. Frostback wants to take a 0 for 6,500. That would be an improvement for him. Cheap guys, I don't mind Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. I just want to say Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, but honestly, I don't mind the Buffalo goalies. I know Colton Ellis just put up an absolute stinker the other night, but don't mind Pekka Luukkonen. Don't really want to play Askarov at 7K. You could. It's just a brutal penalty kill matchup. Kevin Lankinen, 85. There's no goalie that sticks out to me that I really want to play. It would probably be Logan Thompson 1, and then Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen for the cheap guys.
Yeah, Jake Oettinger does have the highest projection. Obviously, Dallas just in a good home matchup. He's at 13.8 DK points. Nobody else is at higher than 10.5. So obviously, I think Jake Oettinger is the top play on the board, just because it's one of those if he can 23 saves, 2 goals against with the win. It's one of those things I would just take it and run. You know what I mean? That's kind of the way goaltending's been. Logan Thompson kind of sticks out to me for basically the same reason as Oettinger, just against a much higher scoring team is kind of the problem. Carter Hart would probably be the second place after Jake Oettinger. For the cheaper goalies, I think Jacob Markstrom at home makes sense against Vegas, 7,600, but I would probably rather play Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, 7,200 on the road against Winnipeg. Feels like if Buffalo wins that game, it's not going to be like a 6-4 game or something like that. It might be like a 4-1 game where UPL plays well. So if you need a cheap goalie, I'd probably go down to Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
Yeah, we will be back tomorrow for a nice Saturday slate. So look forward to that. We are here every day this week. I need to start sleeping more. Who are you liking for your hat trick pick?
Not sure if we might have briefly mentioned him, but not a bad matchup tonight. We'll see how it goes. I'm going Thomas Hertl.
Tomas. We love Hertl. Thomas Hertl on the third line with Vander Kane and Jonas Donskoy is my favorite third line in the history of the NHL. Just that's the random fact of the day. I'll quiz you guys later. I am going to go Dylan Guenther.
Nice. I like it. Yeah, we do like Utah here tonight.
Yeah. So we will see you guys tomorrow. Good luck, everybody, tonight. See you in the Discord.
Good luck tonight, everyone.